If you watched my recent video of the Boulies Fit Pro chair, you'll know that overall I liked it, but I did have a few reservations, particularly around its physical presence in a smaller studio space like mine. Since then, Boulies has re-released a model in the UK, the Fit Lite, and after spending some time using it in my studio, I think this chair actually makes a lot of sense for the type of workspace many of us now have at home. This is not a budget version of the Fit Pro. Instead, it feels more like a deliberately scaled down, more space conscious take on the same design philosophy. So today, I want to talk about whether the Fit Lite is actually the better choice for creators, home offices, and standing desk users. The biggest difference between the Fit Lite and the Fit Pro is its height. The Fit Lite removes the tall backrest and headrest, while keeping almost all of the core ergonomic features intact. For my setup, that change alone is significant. I use a standing desk, and one of my frustrations with the Fit Pro was that it physically dominated the studio space. It also couldn't easily be pushed underneath the desk when I was standing, which meant it was always visually and physically in the way. The Fit Lite solves this problem almost immediately. It's lower, visually lighter, and easier to move around. In a smaller studio or office, that alone makes it feel far more appropriate. The Fit Lite I am using is the green fabric version, and I'll start by saying that overall, its build quality is very similar to the Fit Pro. Assembly is just as straightforward. Just like the Pro, it arrives almost fully assembled. You just have to fit the casters, insert the gas lift, attach the arms, and drop the chair onto the base. It took me just over 10 minutes from opening the box to sitting down, which is excellent for a chair in this category. The fabric itself feels hard wearing, but not coarse, and it has a soft premium texture that doesn't feel cheap. And importantly, it feels breathable, especially compared to the Nappa Leather Fit Pro, which can feel cold when you first sit down, and it does get warmer over longer sessions. Its green colour is more muted than you might expect. It's not a loud Kermit the Frog green. It is more subdued and actually pairs quite well with natural studio environments. Alongside my brown Nappa Leather Fit Pro, it also doesn't feel visually out of place at all. With that said, there is one visible cost-saving area, and that is the upper portion of the backrest above the lumbar support. On the back of this section is a fabric material instead of the plastic material that's used on the lower back. From a distance you would not notice, but up close, the material change is very clear, and it also means that this area is not as wipe clean as the Pro is, which is something worth bearing in mind if you have dirty hands or if you like to keep your gear pristine. Everywhere else though, the chair feels very similar to the Pro. The seat cushion, armrests, base, casters and piston all feel effectively identical. Sitting in the Fit Lite feels extremely similar to the Fit Pro, which is both a strength and a limitation. The seat is comfortable over long sessions. I had no issues using it for extended editing, writing and film preparation. In colder weather, the fabric actually makes it more comfortable initially than the leather version of the Pro, which can feel quite cold when you first sit down. The lumbar support is the same system used in the Pro, and my opinion remains largely unchanged. It is a token but welcome form of support rather than a fully sculpted ergonomic solution. You can feel it when adjusting it up and down, but only if you're sitting properly into the chair with your lower back rested against it. If you slouch at all in the chair, it essentially disappears. It works, but I would have liked more presence and contouring in this area. The armrests are also very similar. They're adjustable in multiple directions, which is great, but the padding continues to be a little bit thinner than I would ideally like, and the locking mechanism still isn't firm as it should be. They are slightly firmer than the Pro, but that could be because it's fresh out of the box, but not by a meaningful margin. A button-based locking system for its rotation and slide orientations would have elevated these significantly. Seat height, seat depth, recline and tilt adjustment are all unchanged, and the side-mounted controls remain one of the best features of this chair. They are far more intuitive and usable than your traditional under-seat levers, and in daily use they generally make adjusting the chair less annoying. One limitation that remains is the rear tilt system. There are only 3 locking positions, and whilst I would personally prefer more granular options, in practice I only ever use upright and halfway reclined, so it's not really been much of an issue for me. Using the Fit Lite in my studio and standing desk setup, this is where the Fit Lite truly separates itself from the Fit Pro. At my height, around 172 centimeters, the Fit Lite feels perfectly proportioned. It no longer towers over the desk or visually dominates the space. More importantly, I can push it underneath my standing desk to free up space when standing, something I simply could not do properly with the Fit Pro. Even so, it's worth noting unless I lower the chair each time, I still would need to raise the desk slightly higher than my natural standing position to get the chair fully underneath. So whilst the chair height is much better, it still requires a little interaction to get it underneath the desk. In a small studio or home office though, the difference is immediately noticeable. The Fit Lite feels like it belongs in this environment in a way the Pro sometimes did not. So out of the Lite and the Fit Pro, which would I choose? On paper, the Fit Pro offers more for the money. For £100 more, you do get a taller back and a headrest, and if you value those features, especially for leaning back or relaxing, the Pro is clearly a better deal. However, that only holds true if the size of the Pro works for your space. If you use a standing desk, if you're in a smaller room, or if you simply do not need a headrest, I would actually recommend the Fit Lite over the Pro. It's lighter, less imposing, easier to integrate into modern workspaces, and offers essentially the same comfort and core ergonomics. Retailing for £499.99 in the UK, the Fit Lite sits in a slightly awkward price position. Personally, for a fabric short back chair, I would have expected something closer to the £350 to £400 range. It does feel premium and it is well built, but it is also competing in a very crowded market at this price point. But with that said, compared to the Fit Pro's £599.99 and especially the £799.99 Napa leather version I own, the Fit Lite does start to look more reasonable, particularly if you've never intended to use the headrest in the first place. A couple of things I like to see improved. I would like to see more colour options and ideally a Napa leather Fit Lite for durability and easier cleaning. I would also prefer the upper back section to use the same black plastic finish on the back to match the lower part for consistency and easier maintenance. And finally, the armrest design still feels like the biggest missed opportunity in what is otherwise a very thoughtfully designed chair. The Boulies Fit Lite is not a cheaper Fit Pro, it is a more appropriate Fit Pro for modern home offices, studios and standing desk setups. It delivers the same comfort and usability in a more space-conscious form, and for people like me who do not need a headrest and dislike tall back chairs dominating their workspace, it is actually the better product. If your space is large and you value full height support, the Fit Pro still makes sense, but if your workspace is compact, flexible, or visually minimal, the Fit Lite is the smarter choice. Okay, thanks for watching and I hope you found this video helpful. If it has, please leave us a like down below and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about either of the Boulies chairs I've reviewed, and I'll try my best to answer them. If you like this content and you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by sending us a super thanks down below on YouTube. You can hype this video to alert this video and this channel to new viewers on YouTube, and you can check out this QR code on screen to buy me a coffee, and you can support me there too. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.